Okay, everybody, we're about to get started. We are live on Facebook and on Zoom. It can't see any of you, but it can see us, and since the computer's right here, everybody at this table, you have to be the quietest people in the room. Otherwise, everybody on Facebook Live and Zoom will be able to hear a conversation. So if you want to talk, by all means, but keep it PG. Okay. So Martha Ann, I will let you introduce yourself, and she's just going to say a couple words and stand right here to be in the shot.
Or not. Okay, thanks. So thank you everybody for having me here tonight. It's exciting to see faces again and attached to bodies, and to be in person, and that's a lot to celebrate. For those of you I haven't had the honor yet of working with in person, and a good many of you I haven't, it's been really great to see you again tonight. I coordinate the Center of Excellence at Augusta University for the Parkinsons Foundation, and I work really closely with Dr. Morgan, Dr. Couric, Dr. McLeod. I do a lot of outreach, and I'm also a licensed mental health counselor with the department, so I do a lot of psychosocial assessments. I may have done some telemental health counseling with you. I may have referred you to someone in the community. But anyway, I'm sort of that person you can call with, what do I do about this, or what do we do? Do you have any resources for that? As one of the 33 Centers of Excellence for the Parkinson Foundation in the United States, one of 47 in the world, we have built access to lots and lots and lots of resources, whether that's podcasts, webinars, virtual presentations live or recorded, and materials. So just let me know if I can help you with anything, and I just wanted to be able to see your face, and I have my card, and I can put you in touch with whatever you need. Also, I do, as I mentioned, the outreach, and that has all been virtual since March of 2020, but we are resuming in August with a caregiver event at the Kroc Center located in Augusta, and I'm excited about it. We know that caregivers with Parkinson's experience a great amount of depression, anxiety, and burnout. In Parkinson's, the care partner is often called the hidden patient because the burden is so heavy, and they often can be unrecognized. So we're just doing a fun event. The Parkinson's Foundation representative will be there too, but this is going to be sort of to relax and recharge and reconnect. We're going to have a jazz singer. We're going to have an uplifting message from Jenny Montgomery, who's a local person most of us know. We're going to have drawings for massages and salon treatments. We're going to have always our Chick-fil-A box lunch. So the information about it is in the support group newsletter, or I can certainly give you that information too. It's always free, everything we do, but registration is required. This event, because of COVID regulations at the facility, you do have to show proof of vaccination at the door. And we're doing COVID spacing. So I've got about 50 folks in a space that we normally would have put 150. So we will fill out pretty quickly. So just make sure that you register. We're also doing some care partner awards, also to build morale. We've started this. We will pick 3 outstanding care partners, and each one gets $500 and a trophy. And that's going to be nominations in October, and we award them in November. The only requirement is that the patient be a patient of our movement disorder program at AUMCG. So also details for how to nominate somebody. Anybody can nominate anybody. And that's just simple. Send me an email and tell me why. And that information is also in the newsletter. And we also there's a new care partner course, which I just wanted to comment on, that the Parkinson Foundation just started June 1st. It was unrolled, and it will be unrolled 3 courses at a time. I was very honored to be one of the first 3. So I present a course on mood disorders in Parkinson's, along with a doctor at Harvard who presents a course on sleep disorders with Parkinson's, along with a doctor at Oregon who presents a program on cognition issues with Parkinson's. But these are voluntary, they're free, they're online, you complete them at any pace. They'll be unrolled about 3 at a time over the next several months. Someone who completes all of them, and you don't have to, you could do 1 or 2 or whatever pace, will get a certificate at the end. And again, it's just a certification to say, I have care partner training that we hope will help get some more, some due respect and recognition to care partners. And I know that's a lot of care partner focus, but we think they're super important. And most of our outreach is focused on Parkinson's disease. Dr. McLeod and Dr. Morgan and I will be speaking down in Macon, Georgia, about motor, non-motor symptoms. They will with Parkinson's, and I'll talk about caregiver strain in October. We have Julie Couric who's going to speak to you all in September on a new palliative care initiative that we're part of, which is going to be revolutionary, and that's going to become standard at all centers of excellence. And then we have our Care Partner Awards in November, and Dr. McLeod will be speaking in Athens, Georgia about surgical options for Parkinson's in December. So we usually keep about 1 thing a month going, and we're so excited to be able to start doing these in person again. If you have any questions, just let me know, and I'm going to get this over to our program. I'm excited to hear about it. Thank you, Logan.
Thank you. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Logan Banks. I'm president of the board for the support group. New president. I'm sure you're used to seeing Tambra if you come to many meetings, and I'm sure she'll grace us occasionally, but if you need anything at all, please feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to assist. I'd like to invite the panel to come up at this point. We are on Facebook and on Zoom, so I'm only going to use first names, but if anybody on Facebook or Zoom would like to get in contact with anybody in the support group or the panel, please feel free to reach out to us. As they all come up. Yeah, that's you too. So our first panel member that's seated is Pam. And then we have Kathleen, Dick, and Ev. So we have a couple questions prepared. However, audience, if you have any questions at all, I'll pause a couple different times and ask if anybody has questions. Just raise your hand, and then please feel free to ask it, and I will restate your question so that everybody watching us on Zoom and Facebook can hear. So panel, if you just want to kind of take them as they come, we can go that way. So first, I just wanted to start off by introducing your relationships to Parkinson's and kind of talking a little bit about that. So if you want to share that, who wants to kind of kick it off?
I'm Ev Greenwood. My wife had corticobasal syndrome and PSP all wrapped up in that. And she passed away back in January. But I got a chance to do a lot of caregiving and learn a whole lot about Parkinson's. I live here at Brandywine, and we started out living in a cottage and ultimately progressed down to the pavilion, and a lot of experience in that area for whatever that's worth. Is that what you want to cover?
That's perfect. Just an introduction.
My name is Dick Reynolds, and I know Everett very well. We both live here at Brandywine. We moved in about 2 years ago. My wife, Kathleen, was diagnosed about 6 years ago, August of 2015, with Parkinson's. And ever since then, we've been involved with this support group in one way or another. She's been on the board, now I'm on the board, I got pulled in, but loving it. And so that's kind of just our brief synopsis.
Perfect.
I'll pass it on that.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Reynolds, and I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2015, and I'm lucky to have a very caring caregiver, care partner, and I guess everybody has a different story about their Parkinson's, so there it is.
Thank you. I'm Pamela, and I have Parkinson's. And I was diagnosed, I can't even remember, probably about 4 years ago, but we had symptoms for close to a decade now. And that's kind of where I'm at.
I gotta say, I got to know Dick and Kathleen real well. It's what was called Rock Steady Boxing, and I think some of you might be familiar with that, and Tamara and her program. When it was up here in Evans, and we started with that, that's how we met these guys. And I can tell you, Carol will beat anybody on doing planks, so.
So our first question for the panel is, what are your favorite resources, virtual or in person, that you have found to assist you or guide you through life with Parkinson's? It could relate to the pandemic or in general. Who wants to take it? Okay, you hand that down to Kathleen.
My favorite resource during the pandemic is the Parkinson Place, which is in Sarasota. But they have a program on the webinar. Every day they have lots of exercise programs, and they're very, very good exercise programs. And also they have these teachers who are on Zoom, and it's really wonderful to follow them because it's all for free, and you can sign in to them anytime. And they also have webinars that tells you all different parts about the Parkinson's information once a month. So I like their yoga program, their Rock Steady program, Rock Steady Boxing program, as well as their exercise programs there. So if you want to look for something on that, if you can do it at home, it's Parkinson Place in Sarasota.
Well, I have to say, I get my greatest support actually from Day One Fitness, and some of you are out there, and it's been amazing to me, the support that you get from the gym, the variety of classes that you get from the gym. I mean, it's just been a lifesaver, because they all get it.
Oh. Okay, I think this is still working. So the next question for the panel, have you stopped doing anything you used to do because of Parkinson's? I think the mic is working now. There we go. Okay.
Was it not working before?
It wasn't.
I'll say the great, whoa.
We're working now.
Probably the greatest challenge for me is I used to be a lot more outgoing. I got my sister here, Chris, from Charlotte, and I just happen to be the oldest of 13 children, and we used to get together and have family reunions each year for a number of years. I haven't seen my whole family in a number of years. Large groups are make me very uncomfortable. I'm very good with small groups and people I know. I don't have any problem with, but stimuli, a lot of, now these lights are okay, but if you turn on the strobe lights, I'm on here. So I just don't tolerate a lot of stimulation, and I tolerate best when I'm just calm and I'm moving today. My sister's helping me. She's going, but, and I'm like, let's just get calm, quiet, all day long.
Well, things we cannot do anymore on our own is being able to just pick up yourself and go somewhere, and go shopping, and go do stuff, even go to do exercise and drive yourself somewhere. Can't do that anymore. So those are very limiting, but they're just life.
Another thing that Kathy and I enjoy doing immensely and have for a long time is travel. And we still do some travel. We haven't given it up, but the range of our travel is definitely going to change. And the type of travel too, because it becomes more challenging to just on the road or whatever you're doing. It's very challenging to travel, but certainly it's been a major part of our life for a lot of years. And so we've had to give up some of that, but not all of it.
The answer is yes, we stopped doing a lot of things we did, but we did a lot of different things. Rock Steady Boxing, I just mentioned that. They had classes here down in Brandon. There was not too many folks there, but they did exercise programs. We did different things. I think the bottom line, as a caregiver, and I think I could speak for Carol, was that keep on doing something, keep moving, keep trying, and that'll keep your attitude up. And that's, I think that was key. You're gonna keep on going. The last thing you need to do is sit around and just worry about it or not do anything. So.
As a caregiver to a spouse with PD, is it difficult to separate your caregiver role from your role as a spouse?
Say that question again. I lost that.
I said, as a caregiver to a spouse with PD, is it difficult to separate your caregiver role from your role as a spouse?
Gosh, I have to think about it. I'd say it's different. It's no different than a relationship you had with your spouse so long. And I think that you're going to keep taking care of your spouse. You're married, you made a commitment to each other. You do that. You kind of learn together. So I don't know that our relationship changed, just the things we did, and maybe it deepened our relationship if anything.
Yeah, to go along with that, I never forgot the one statement I had to make when we said I do, and that's in sickness and in health. And she has taken care of me in many cases over the years, and spoiled me and everything else, and done all these things. And now it's my turn to do my part of it in sickness and in health, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So has it changed what we do? Sure, it has, but I think I agree with Everett completely that we do different things, but we're still enjoying as much as we can of day-to-day life. And I think one of the key secrets is slip in as much fun as you possibly can, whatever it is, even if it's just simple daily walks. Pandemic taught us a lot. You know, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, I probably would have never even seen the campus here at Brandonville where we live. But they've got some beautiful places to walk, and we walked almost every day during the pandemic, and did a lot of other things that were simple but meaningful. And I think that kept things healthy for us.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions at this point?
I know it's a question, it's a comment, because I do a lot of outreach about caregivers, and I know apathy can be really hard for caregivers to deal with, and I was gonna ask you, what aspects, say, of Parkinson's and atypical Parkinson's diseases has been the most challenging for you to deal with as a care partner?
Just doing it, as a short answer. It becomes more and more involved as you go along. As I said, my wife was in the Pavilion, which is a nursing home here. Prior to that, a caregiver that helped me at the house and all of that. One of the things from my standpoint was I had a mission in life and a purpose in life. I didn't have time to even feel sorry for myself about what I didn't want to. I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity to do that. And I'll be honest with you, it's the way you love your wife.
I don't know if this is exactly related to the question, but I'll say it anyway. So when we first discovered that she was first diagnosed with Parkinson's, it was a shocker, of course. But then the challenge was, how do we tell our daughters? And so what I did was, we got together with our daughters at some point. Didn't tell them anything until we got there. And I said, okay, I'm going to take you out for coffee. Just them and me. And I broke it to them. And then after all the gasps and everything else, and shock and dismay and bewilderment and everything else, I said, but you know what? It really isn't going to change them that much. I said, you know, I've seen what happens with families that, you know, where Parkinson's is involved. And of course, every patient is different, truly different. But it isn't going to change much. We're going to continue doing the kinds of things we've done right along. I don't think there's any reason to stop that. It may be a reason to slow down, change direction a little bit, and certainly we've done some of that, but we're not going to stop. So that's been our approach.
I have a little bit different perspective in that I had a hard time getting diagnosed and had symptoms for a number of years. So honestly, I was teaching an 8-hour class. I had a DAT scan, and the day I found out, I gave the students a lunch break, and I ran over, got the results, and, they said, well, you got Parkinson's. I said, okay. And I went back and I told the class, I said, yeah, I just got diagnosed with Parkinson's. Okay, let's keep talking about ventilators. And they were very surprised. Honestly, being diagnosed was one of the best days of my life because I had such severe, horrible, horrible depression. I was never depressed in my life until age 55. And I'm suicidal every day. I never had that problem. I had seizure-like activity, and I just got labeled, a psych patient, I think is what happened. So actually getting a diagnosis and getting proper medication was just huge. My life was just turned around. Well, I'm still a little bit limited, but it's turned around that I'm very good at active life.
So I actually want to jump off that. We have another question. Do you feel that your doctors really understand what it's like to have Parkinson's, or they don't have a clue how to give you advice and say things like establish a good sleep routine? Which I know is, asking that question is kind of two-sided. Your doctor doesn't have Parkinson's, but what has your experience been with that side of things?
Well, I'm trying to be really positive. It was one of the best days of my life getting diagnosed, but I'm sorry. I went multiple times. My father had Parkinson's and said, I think I have Parkinson's. My ex-husband said, you act just like your dad. And so, no, I think people got it. So one thing I'd like to mention is when I went to Atlanta to be an instructor at Day One Fitness to take a class, the one thing they said was that they call it the snowflake disease. And so that's the most real thing, Connie, out there, is we're all unique. We have similar symptoms, but we all have different things that are more challenging to us, which I think from a doctor's perspective makes it much more challenging in the diagnosis.
So to the whole panel, as a PD patient, what is the best advice or tip or trick or whatever you want to call it, or a caregiver that you've been given as you've experienced Parkinson's in one way, shape, or form? Anybody can take it, Pam. You don't have to.
I don't want to monopolize it.
She's doing good, so yeah.
I think the best advice I was given was to keep moving, don't quit moving, and exercise. And I think that's the best thing that has ever been told to me, and I've been doing that, and it makes a big difference. Because if you don't move, you get stiff, and you don't get the lubrication, I guess, is needed for the joints. And whenever I don't do exercises, I fall down a lot. But when I do exercises, I don't fall down as much. I'm talking about daily.
Actually, I want to support every word that you just said. Exercise, and I'm very lucky because I've always liked exercise. Some people hate it. I tried to go to the gym actually 5 days a week. And I just think, again, Day One Fitness, I mean, the variety of the activities that they have, the support groups and Connie and folks out there. I mean, it's just wonderful, and just staying active.
Look, and that leads me to another thing to play off of that. Just the support group and a gym, you're with people in a safe environment. You don't feel like people are staring at you or whispering about you or whatever. If you fall, you fall. If you stumble, you stumble. If you have trouble talking or walking, I don't see myself ever going to something like Planet Fitness. I think I would just feel so self-conscious. And so I think it's important to have groups like this where you see people in all stages of the disease, without diagnosis for 20 years they've been fighting it. And it just gives you a sense that you're not alone. Somebody else is going through something similar or a little bit different, but we get it. That's Pam and I have been using that expression. The doctors are wonderful, the doctors are well-meaning, research is wonderful, but unless you have Parkinson's disease, you don't get it. You go, sister.
Also, I guess from the caregiver's perspective, I'm extremely blessed to have somebody who is not only willing, but actually enjoys all the different programs, exercise programs. And that includes singing, by the way. She's been in the choir forever at our church. And singing is one of those things that she kind of had to give up at the church because you have to walk and do all these things that were complex and just couldn't handle it anymore. So that was a heartbreaker for her. But she now belongs to 2 different choirs, one of them through the Parkinsons Place, which is this online group in Sarasota, Florida, and another one called the George Center in Atlanta, where they exercise your voice because you're exercising all the muscles, including the voice muscles. And so she gets to sing, and it's just great fun. I know she enjoys it, I can just tell. I'm in the other room. But, you know, I've also heard many stories from others, other situations where the person with Parkinson's doesn't want to exercise or has no interest in exercising or moving, and that would really be challenging. I just been blessed in that sense.
I could probably just echo all that's been said. One of the best things that happened to us was back that rock steady boxing. That's, like I mentioned, it's from Nick and Kathy and other folks. They became like your family. You're all in this together one way or another. And that makes quite a difference. You look forward to going the same way the exercise stuff we did here. The therapists here all worked with. And that's, I think, other people get to understand you better, right? I would say that stay involved and just press on with it. That's really helpful.
So many of us have talked about how, especially in this new environment with live streaming and Zoom and everything, that we're sure that there are people that are maybe watching us right now that don't want to participate actively, but like to observe. Why do you, all 4 of you, feel like that participating and that sharing your experience is so important or has been so important on your journey with Parkinson's? You can pass it down. Why is sharing your own personal experiences with others that either are caregivers or have PD themselves so important? I mean, it must be because you're all up here.
I mean, knowledge is power. And so, my gosh, I feel so bad because my father had Parkinson's and I just thought we had a drama. And I knew he suffered from depression, but I never knew there were 45 other symptoms. So I got it. And so knowledge is just power. And I mean, that's all I can say. It's education, and education, and education, and exercise, exercise, exercise.
I agree. When you talk to other people with Parkinson, you learn a lot more about the disease. You learn the manifestation differently. Because everybody has a different path to go, and there's no exact same course. And everybody's symptoms different. And it's really hard to explain to somebody who is not involved with it to say, this is also Parkinson's. Somebody can look at me and say, you don't have a tremor, you don't have, the symptoms, and yet I do have the gauge freezing and the mobility problem. And so it is really good to share with other people because it's like Connie said, you get into a group, you don't have to explain yourself. You're accepted and you're understood, and you can talk about anything. And that's good. And also, you learn about all the different kinds of movements you can do. Exercise, different kinds too,
Also, I guess from the caregiver's perspective, the camaraderie that a group like this provides, or Day One Fitness, or whatever activity you join, I don't care what it is. I mean, she does singing, she does a lot of different programs, but any kind of thing like that. I join a once a month luncheon for caregivers, And it's great. It's just a small group, very small get together. We just sit and talk about our issues. And it's wonderful because by chance, it turns out that there are those who have been fairly recently diagnosed, caregivers who have a spouse or whatever that's fairly recently diagnosed, and there are those who have a spouse that's had Parkinson's for 20, 25 years, and the full spectrum. So you learn a lot about what can happen. And again, every patient is different. We've seen just by gathering in groups like this or other activities that we do, the different ways that Parkinson's manifests itself. And it's phenomenally different between people. So I guess we learn a lot just by looking at that.
It was good for me too, because I did all the exercises with Carol. I never boxed in my life. But watch out now. And my wife's boxing name was Carol T. And I made sure I behaved myself because she was going on. I think one of the other things that I find too about doctors and nurses is understanding, and it depends what the doctor is. Like Dr. Morgan, on one hand, obviously understands it all. And but other docs has a pretty good handle on it. But I also found I did a lot of reading, a lot of online looking, just trying to learn all I could about it. And as I learned that, I found it working later stages when Carol was in the nursing home, nurses and CNAs. I found myself helping them understand more because I had more knowledge and expertise than they did. And I think that's key as a caregiver. And then you can watch, you're also in a position where you can really weigh in and make sure they get the best care they can get. So I think we play a role in educating too. And Carol did too, as long as she could. She wouldn't take any stuff on anybody.
So changing the subject a little bit, how have you handled taking your medications, or how have you handled assisting with medications? So variations by need or day, schedules, doctor's assistants, etc.
Now, boy, is that a challenge. Because I know ideally you don't want to eat protein an hour before the carb relief, but you don't want to eat protein until later. I want to work on strength. I want to build muscle. I want to eat a healthy diet. It's kind of like, how do I fit in that protein? And I can't forget I have Parkinson's for more than an hour or so, but I can get wound up teaching. I teach an AU 4-hour class, and I can get caught up teaching and kind of forget, and boy, by golly, if I forget and I'm 15 minutes late, I suffer the rest of the day. So sticking to a schedule is just, my God, it's just critically important, because I find once you get behind, at least for myself, how you're shaking your head, you don't catch up. It's like you go to bed and start the next day over. You know, so you really have to adhere to the schedule.
We use our alarm clock. We use our alarm to remind us of the pill time. Except sometimes it's like it falls at the wrong time. It's like we set it for 6 o'clock, and then it's right in the middle of dinner. So it's okay. We'll wait an hour because I've been eating protein. I cannot take it now, you know. So an hour later I would forget, and then at 10:30 I go, why am I feeling so jittery or so cold? And then I remember that I did not take my 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock pill, and I'm trying to catch up, and I'm just jittery and cold and restless and just horrible feelings. And then I get caught up with taking the medicine after walking off. So yeah, it's very important to keep the schedule.
I think that reminded Dick of the schedule too, because he muted his phone in the middle of it. Sorry, Connie.
I'd like to just add that you're on multiple medications and they're taken at different times. You could be looking at 12 waking hours and trying to balance this pill and that pill and this pill, space them out properly, and then try to get through the night with whatever meds you need. And life doesn't always work that way. You have an exercise class one day at 8, and normally you take the pill at 6, so you're going to be in the middle of exercise when you run out of gas. So I wish that the doctors would provide some sort of a pharmacy information or something, you know, from an expert who can help you plot out what you should do in case of you're traveling or you're at, like you're teaching a 4-hour class. That's something they don't address as far as what I've seen. You're on your own pretty much to figure it out. And I've gotten more help from fellow Parkinson's people than I have from the doctors in that respect.
It seems like that's why that camaraderie seems to be kind of a trend I've noticed so important. Sharing your experiences, almost bonding through those shared, trials and tribulations, but growing together through it. So, you're going to say something? Okay.
I had my question, I just lost it. Oh, what is the most bothersome aspect of having Parkinson's? And I know there's probably quite a few to list. But some examples that were provided were sleepwalking, difficulty walking, pain, and then also to the two spouses that we have up here. What are the things that you've noticed that have most frustrated your spouse with Parkinson's? And the thing that was hard to overcome as a caregiver? I know that was a long question, sorry.
Sorry, there's a fly in here if everybody's wondering why people are shooting.
We're not doing that. Just
Shooting up there.
You muted it. There you go. Oh, you muted it again. If you start talking.
Hello? Let's see now. What was the question?
So, as a spouse of a PD patient, what do you find is the thing that frustrates them most?
Okay, so again, every PD patient is different. Kathy started having freezing problems, freezing of gait. What we thought was very early on. Actually, it wasn't very early on. It turns out she had other symptoms that were not diagnosed at least 5 years before she was diagnosed. But she also had shuffling, feet shuffling, and eventually freezing of gait. And so when she first went in for diagnosis, he noticed that she was having freezing of gait. He said, well, this is quite unusual. He says, most people don't get freezing of gait until they're like 10 years into the disease. He says, you've already got that. Well, the reality is she probably was 10 years into the disease. They just didn't know at that time. So that's a very frustrating element. Not everybody has that. Everybody has different issues, but that particular one is very frustrating for both of us to keep the ability to keep moving. Medicine makes a big difference. Exercise makes a gigantic difference for being able to stay mobile. So that is a big deal. So.
One of the most frustrating. It's like this is kind of along the line of the role of the caregiver and the spouse. When I'm walking and he's very good about sticking his feet out if I freeze so that I can walk over his foot. So that's one way to help me get started on my walking. But sometimes he would just say, come on, walk over, come on, take one step over, come on, take one step over. And, that to me, that was like talking to a kid or a dog. And I said, don't talk to me like that. But in reality, he's just trying to help me get over it. But he was in a hurry and I was not there yet. And that's it. But then he's been very, very good about understanding that, and I don't think about that anymore.
I would say physically, the challenge, the tremor is the most challenging for me. It's off and on, variable throughout the day. But however, probably what's becoming much more challenging, I haven't really communicated much about this, but just the change in the mood, actually starting to recognize it now. I didn't used to kind of recognize it, but I can be a completely different person throughout the day. And depression is, oh my God, like I said, I feel so blessed because I was pretty healthy for 55 years. So God bless me with those years. But wow, some days you get hit real hard and you just have to keep going, just kick it and keep going. And I think people can kind of recognize the physical symptoms, but as far as in the brain, recognizing depression being a symptom in addition with Parkinson's, and then just the slowness. My brain isn't firing. I've got a friend Michael here and my sister Chris here, and both of them, they run circles and I can't. They're 3 times down the road with me, and I can't. I can bake it a lot. I teach, and I know my subject well, so I can still bake it, but it's a little bit challenging.
I have Logan another point.
Connie, do you want to pull up a chair? I thought about running the mic back and forth, but.
You go to the Center of Excellence or, whatever neurology doctor practice that you go to, they always have this little chart that you fill out as far as your symptoms and what's bothering you, and one of them is depression, and one of them is sleeplessness, and, things that are kind of non-motor symptoms. And then it disappears. They never ask you about them. You'll check yes, yes, and yes. And nobody says, so are you depressed? Or let's talk about your depression. Nobody says, so you're having trouble sleeping. It's like the doctors want to deal with the gait problems, and that's it. And, Pam, you've been through this too. It's more bothersome what's going on up here than what's going on here.
I echo that absolutely, because I do see a psychiatrist for the depression, and I'm talking to the Parkinson's doctor about depression, and they say, well, you just need to see the psychiatrist. Well, I had problems sleeping, so I tried to talk to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist said, well, I don't know Parkinson's, you need to talk to your Parkinson's doctor. And so I don't feel I have a full package as far as coordination. Yes, and so I just kind of try and figure it out myself.
Penny?
My most frustrating part is you go in with symptoms and understand interactions of we're dealing with one disease and drugs, and they just want to add more drugs. Like last time we went in, they added 2 more drugs, and he's already taking 19 and a half drugs a day. And there's not always a drug for the answer. You need to work on some issues with it. He doesn't sleep anymore. Well, of course, then that's going to make him sleep during the day. He's not sleeping at night, and he's going to have impaired cognition because he's so tired. And that's so frustrating to me. And then if he's up, a lot of times I'm up because he has to shuffling and he has to turn on the light or, get help getting back out of bed or in bed. And I just feel like adding 2 more drugs to this long list, and all of them have the side effects of constipation and anxiety and depression, and and I'm looking at the things saying, why would you take this? If you already have all these symptoms, that, how's it gonna help?
So I don't mean to throw this at you, but Martha Ann, you've worked with a lot of people. How have you helped? I'm sure that you hear this all the time. How have you helped people kind of connect all those dots?
And thank you for asking that, because I was going to jump in. My heart goes out because I know that there are many people who experience that, and it's and I will also say, call me because I can help. I mean, that's what I'm trained to do. I'm the only counselor in the department with 2,000 patients, so I haven't had the honor of working with everyone. On the other hand, also, we do have to refer out because of the number. So we do have some counselors in Augusta who I'm working with, and I do a lot of referrals with, who've self-trained and themselves in Parkinson's and atypical Parkinson's, and some of the struggles, the challenges that are typically come with that diagnosis. And so I have those folks, and they're out there in the private sector, but they, take wide range of insurances, including self-pay, and I can help with that. So
I would love that.
yeah, so just contact me, you'll get my number, we can talk. But I do psychosocial assessments on new patients, the ones that I, as much as I can. And I do know we do screen for depression, but it's real. In fact, we know now that a lot of people can be diagnosed with depression before they're actually diagnosed with Parkinson's, and they now realize that that was part of it, right? Just like kind of unrelated, but they now know that one of the first signs of Parkinson's can be a long struggle with constipation. So there's more and more that's being known about that, and more that's understood about the need for non-pharmacological interventions and managements for a holistic approach. Palliative care program that I referred to a minute ago, which is going to become standard, required at all centers of excellence. We'll start at diagnosis, which is pretty revolutionary, because right now, palliative care tends to start about 2 years before the time of death. And it includes psychosocial, proactive, supportive measures for the patient, the care partner, and anyone else in their world from that moment, from the get-go. So you have all of these preventative measures going on. But I would just say that the goal is holistic. That is what the Center of Excellence is about. Sometimes physicians, and psychiatrists too, can be a little more drug-oriented than looking at something. But I know that our 3 docs, and I think it is so important to go to a movement specialist with Parkinson's as opposed to our general neurologist. And they are trained to look for the whole picture. And we know that the Parkinson's Outcome Project, which is the largest study of Parkinson's patients, 13,000 subjects so far in 5 different countries over the last 10 years. It's still going on, a longitudinal study. We know from that the top 2 predictors of quality of life for a person with Parkinson's and their care partner is depression and anxiety, more so than motor symptoms. So it's important, it's huge. And to get on top of it, screen for it, treat it, is key for everybody's well-being. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but I've got lots of resources, and I'm just happy to work with you myself. So please just give me a call if anybody feels that they're falling through a crack, and let me help connect you to some resources.
So I just wanted to, I think we're at our time, and I don't want to keep everybody past, but based on what, Pam just said, she didn't know about any of that. I think that everybody that's watching and then everybody that's here, that's why this sort of a group is so important. I personally don't have Parkinson's, and I haven't had a family member with Parkinson's, but when I got involved in this group, I saw not only a group of people who have had such different experiences, but those that have a passion to serve, a group of people who are consistently new faces walking in the door that don't have those resources that everyone at that group had and wanted to pass along. So I would encourage everybody, if you know someone with Parkinson's who isn't involved, who isn't exercising, who is depressed and struggling with what we've kind of talked about today, refer them to the group, whether they watch on Zoom, whether they call me, whether they call Mary Ann out of the blue.
Get the newsletter.
Or get them sign up for the newsletter. I think that is so important just to keep us all connected. So does anybody else have anything in here that they wanted to ask really quick?
Well, I just want to add, it may also be some topics for future meetings. I know you mentioned sleep. We could talk for 3 hours about sleep hygiene for Parkinson's and care partners. There's techniques, there's suggestions. I mean, practical nuts and bolts suggestions. We can talk. The caregiver program I told you about when I was talking at the beginning. So Dr. Alexander Budinovich, who is the director of the Sleep Center at Harvard University and is a movement disorder specialist, he does a whole course you can watch online free about sleep with Parkinson's. Very detailed suggestions. But I do sleep hygiene programs with patients, so there's a lot to be said. That's a big deal. And a lot, and they're non-pharmacological, just about exercise, about attitude, yoga for Parkinson's. I mean, there's tons and tons. So any of these things could be their own meeting subject,
And I think, that's kind of what our goal is in the future, is to bring things to the meetings with speakers, with activities, with whatever that really benefits a need that we see amongst our community, which is all y'all here, everybody there, which I'm sorry we haven't acknowledged Joel on Zoom, but it's so nice to have a room full of people and faces that I just keep looking at all of them. But seriously, if you know someone who needs assistance in any way, shape, or form, or you want to connect them to us, we're happy to do that. So thank you all for joining us at our first meeting. We really appreciate it in person. And Marianne, do you have something to add?
We talk about knowledge is power, and we got a lot of resources that you can find on our newsletter. But we have giveaways here too. Anything on the table up here is free. So if there's something that catches your eye and you want to read it, please take it. He mentioned the voice down in blue. I'm on the other end of the Parkinson phone line. There's a Parkinson number. It comes to my house, and I'll be glad to talk to anybody who's a wild. I'd like to ask if there's anybody here from South Carolina. Okay. And from other places that are not Evans, outside of Evans.
Grovetown Camp.
Grovetown counts. Okay. I just want to know, since I'm glad the Brandon Law people are here. It's good. It's easier for them to come here, but we really need to spread the word. So help us. Help people that we are meeting again in person with speakers.
Yeah, so please share with anybody that you've seen at previous meetings, share and tell them we're meeting in person. And we're really going to kind of drive that point home for our next meeting next month. So
just real quickly, Marlene, would it be helpful if you gave out your number right now so that people aren't? You have plenty of numbers?
Yeah, I'd like to.
I just didn't know, it looked like we only had a few, so I was gonna say.
And then an unrelated, but kind of related thing, I'm going to be starting a support group myself for progressive supranuclear palsy, multi-system atrophy, cortical basal syndrome, or cortical basal degeneration. So if anybody knows anybody to refer for that, please let me know. Because I'm looking for folks to start with that. So there's not Parkinson's, but atypical Parkinson's.
Is that gonna be in the next newsletter, or do you know when that starts?
It's not starting yet, so it won't.
Won't be in like the.
I may be putting the next newsletter, let me know if you're interested.
Gotcha.
Oh,
just say that.
Yeah, but it starts soon, next couple months.
Martha Ann plans to give us an update in one way, shape, or form, whether I read it, whether she comes in person. So we'll be able to, keep everyone connected. So I want to thank the panel for sitting up here, sharing your experiences, joining us. And thank you all for coming as well. And it's been a pleasure seeing you all.
Sure.